All right. It's good to be back at it.
Yes, I was delighted to receive your call.
Oh, you were?
Yes.
Well, the phone rings both ways, you know.
Like you would answer my call the past 2 months.
Oh, you know, that reminds me. I've got to get you off my blocked list. I forgot. That's why I wasn't receiving your calls.
Yeah.
That's what I do to passively, aggressively prepare myself. Is I say, I'm just going to put somebody on block, and then when they don't call me, then that's why. It's not because all my friends have abandoned me.
Well, we were here the whole time, Doug.
Were you? Mm-hmm. It doesn't feel that way. I just don't feel supported. All right.
I'm not hearing any sound in my headphones.
Okay. I'm not turning your headphones. You know, it's just the two of us. I realized.
What does that mean?
Well, like there's nobody else to listen to through the headphones. It's just the two of us.
Yes, but
there's no producer in another room.
Understood. I don't know about you, but when I do these, I'm not here to perform, Doug. It's just I want to be able to hear my voice so that I know that I'm modulating it correctly for the listeners.
I see. Yeah.
So that I'm not talking too softly.
Yeah. Well, I don't think softly is your problem, but I think
touche.
Yeah. I'm not sure Shay is your problem, but
oh, this coffee's good, Doug.
Is it?
Yeah. Even though it's a shittier coffee, it really is good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got to get me one of those.
Espresso. You know, In the Morning with Doug and John, brought to you by Nespresso.
that would be fine,
wouldn't it? Why don't we just start that and see
I
if
would
they
cash
send
that
us,
check.
See if they send us a cease and desist letter while we send them invoices.
Right. This is not your show does not reflect favorably on our product, so please refrain from mentioning it.
I'm sure this is not possible, but if we were just to start to do that and then send invoices to businesses with like just say promotional advertising invoice.
I don't. That doesn't sound illegal to me at all.
I just wonder if
we're not demanding payment.
No,
we're just asking for it.
We're just invoicing them.
That's right.
And somebody in some office might be like, "Oh, Helen, did you get the invoice for that Doug and John in the Morning
they're not even
podcast?
in our system. We'll put them in and get them on a schedule."
Yeah. There's a W-9 attached to this. I'm not sure. In the Morning with Doug and John, brought to you by, what does this say?
Now, is it doing it on Facebook? Did you remember to hit the right button?
Well, I'm looking at that now, and I'm not confident of that. I'm going to restart it because it just told me that thing about simulcasting. This is why I don't try things anymore. I just don't like it when things don't work. All right. What's happening? It's amazing how much things, like English.
Dog talk's good.
How many things I have forgotten about the little details of like my life. Like I was only gone for like 5 weeks, but I was sort of in this thing for about 8 in my mind.
Cue On the Road Again by Bob Seger.
Isn't that funny? I never even played that song once.
Well, then I recommend the Metallica version.
Really? Well, maybe we should kick that up right now. All right, we're going live again. I think some of the people, if they saw that In the Morning with Doug and John pop up and then it disappeared,
it would cause a panic.
I wonder if people were like refreshing their browser. In the Morning with Doug and John. Good morning, John.
Good morning, Doug. Welcome back.
Thank you. Speaking of back, I strangely feel like there's a seat heater in my chair. There's not.
Is there?
No.
Weird.
But
That's a nerve pain, Doug.
My back is shockingly hot.
Is it nerves?
And I see a cone, and there's a light at the end of it. I'm going to follow the light.
Right. You smell toast?
Oh, man, I've missed this. Nice to be back.
Good to see you, Doug.
Good to see you. So I've had a busy 5 weeks. Trying to do something about
Are you going to whine about that now?
No, I'm not. It was fantastic. It was more than I deserved to be able to do. I'll tell you that. More than I deserved. I feel it was an honor. I'll tell you. Traveling the country did make me want to run for president, though.
It did?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I started a website, and I can't remember the URL now, but In the Morning with Doug and John, brought to you by the URL I can't remember, which is like everyonerunforpresident.com or something.
Oh, okay.
Because I learned that it's free to register as a federal candidate for running for the seat of the presidency. Getting on the ballot in every state, whole other story.
Sure.
Really hard to do that because you're dealing with states, because we elect presidents via the state.
Right.
But you can be a registered candidate. There's a lot of candidates are registered to run at the federal level before they get on the ballot in every state, because it's really expensive, so they'll wait to see how they're doing.
Sure.
Before they spend the money and do the organizing and get 1 million signatures or whatever it is you have to do.
And at least if they've done that, they're kind of in the process.
They're in the process. So when it says something like a candidate has yet to register to run, like when they're waiting, I'm still keeping my options open. That's what that is. So I think everyone should register to run. And then when you decide you're not going to run, then you have a press conference and you announce that you're throwing your support behind this person, so that all your dinner conversations and everything can be like, a presidential candidate appearance and the debates.
Do you think you might get invited to other things?
I'm a registered candidate to run for the presidency of the United States. Yeah, you can have a whole campaign. I mean, you have to declare your money and all this. Yeah.
Well, I mean, you guys did a similar, your 5-week operation there was not too different than a whistle stop tour.
I would think it would, if you can do that, I would think you could run for president.
Yeah. That reminds me of when Obama was running for president.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, it was in an interview, and they asked him, well, what makes you qualified to be president? And he's like, well, I ran this campaign that's gotten me here. And so that's like kind of saying, I was able to do the job interview.
Yeah, that's right.
That's what makes me qualified.
Yeah. That could be the thing. I'm literally talking to you, so I think that answers your question.
Right.
You think people just talk to you? It doesn't just happen. Yeah, so
tell us about it, Doug. So your goal was, and you and your cadre of neo-evangelical progressive Christian folks,
merry band of vote common do-gooders, as we like to refer to ourselves.
Yeah, it sounds a little too well rehearsed, but
I think that sounds like material.
Yeah. So you wanted to do what in this?
Wanted to engage religiously minded people and those of conscience.
Okay.
To deepen their conscience and deepen their faith when it comes time to for their vote. And that conscience and faith, especially this faith side, should compel one for the common good and not just for their reflexive partisan impulses, especially going after the religious voters, Christian religious voters, who tend to vote for Republicans out of habit. Mm-hmm. Wanted to invite them to consider something different for their voting criteria than is the person a Republican or Democrat. What I thought would happen is that when we launched this effort, that by the time we got to September and October, some Republican candidate running for office, maybe an incumbent, would have said, I can't stand it no more. Whatever that Popeye line is.
Right.
I am disassociating myself with the Republican caucus. I'm going to now be an independent for the purpose of this election, and I'm going to caucus with the Democrats because this president is out of control and needs to be restrained. So we thought that Vote Common Good would have the chance to support some Republican or formerly or futured Republican candidates. Not a single congressperson or senator said, I'm going to disassociate myself with the Republicans for the purpose of organizing, not their philosophy, Not I'm no longer a Republican. Not I'm quitting the party. None of that's jibbity jab. They're all worried about.
They just wanted just to let it roll.
Just have them say, look, when a candidate is elected, because as it turns out, being a Republican or a Democrat is not actually an existential thing. You only are a Democrat or Republican if you choose to caucus with the Democrats or the Republicans, or if you choose to take that name on, and if those people choose to support you in endorsement or money. It's not a thing. It's not like, oh, I've now transformed myself into a Democrat or Republican. It's not like you've gender assignment surgery, right? You're just a Democrat or Republican if you say, count me in as a Democrat. Will you give me your money and your endorsements?
Yeah, but these forces are really strong.
Sure, but I'm just saying to not be one any longer is simply an act of declaration.
Sure.
I thought someone would have the courage to do that. So it's not like someone said, well, I ran as a Republican.
There's not a lot of paperwork
time.
Involved.
I am a Republican. Nothing I can do about it. I'm just stuck as one. That's not the way it is. You just simply say, no, I'm not going to caucus with the Republicans, or I'm not going to caucus with the Democrats this time. And caucus means you don't have my vote. So if you do that, if one senator had done that, or maybe two, Mitch McConnell would not have been the majority leader. Mm-hmm. That's all it would have taken, 2 senators. A couple of, would have taken 20 or 23 Republicans to do it. But we thought that, so in other words, we weren't being partisan. We were trying to call people to the common good. That's my longer point. Well, that didn't work. So flipping the House then meant we had to support only Democratic endorsed candidates. So that's what we did. We traveled around.
At what point did that focus change, or had that decision been made prior to you launching the tour that no Republican has come forth to do this? So,
literally, like legalistically, November 2nd. Was the last day. And if someone had switched parties in the final days, we would have gone there to support him.
Right.
But for planning purposes, it was really August, September. But we tried to build some freedom in there to be able to go and support these candidates.
Sure.
It's just heartbreaking that not one. I mean, Donald Trump is the worst when it comes to the American spirit and when it comes to the brand of republicanism.
Yeah.
That not a single one left. So our goal was to change control of Congress from a complicit Republican cult to whatever party would bring about the common good. And this time, it was just our only option was Democrats, which fit me well because that's the party I would support. So I was glad to do that. But we traveled with Republicans. Our political organizer, a guy named Rob, 2 B's, Ryerson, he ran as a Republican candidate for the endorsement in May in Arkansas. So he is a full-on self-proclaimed Republican who ran for office as a Republican, lost, and then joined up with us. It's the tribe of Republican losers.
How was the events?
Oh, there were a lot of them. There were 31, something like that. Almost every day for 5 weeks. Crazy.
The event in Minneapolis, it was like one of the first harsh weather days that we had. And it was cold and rainy, and it was just a bitter night.
Yeah. My spirit is still crushed that my own state could not deliver the weather that we needed.
Yeah.
That would have been, it was my favorite event for a whole lot of reasons, partly because of the weather. But had it been one of those glorious October nights that we anticipate in the first 2 weeks of October, man, that would have been epic.
Yeah.
But instead, it was a freezing rain windstorm.
And the reason why...
But there were still lots of people out there.
Right, and the reason I make that point is that like the only posture you could assume to survive it is both hands jammed firmly into your pockets, elbows to your waist, and shoulders crunched as you just kind of paced around.
Just waiting for it to end so you could leave without relational damage.
So it's like for 2 hours, you're just in this clinched standing position.
Yeah. Heaters up on the stage, people with hand warmers, hot chocolate.
But it was still fun.
It was fun. Yeah. Yeah, and so the events went. I mean, they built over time. We got our messaging. That was just great. It ended up at our final event. We had some of the Proud Boys from Fresno show up, the white supremacists.
Sure.
And so that event had its own kind of flavor where we had to interact with those. There's a jovial version of the white supremacists that are yelling at you, but doing it with a smile on their face and trying to act like they're just being part of the good old time. But
yeah,
they're being watched by the police behind them because they're on FBI watch lists for being domestic terrorists.
Yeah,
and they're intimidating candidates and. Basically like we're recording everybody that's here because we're going to find out where you live kind of thing. For real. It's terrible. The kind of intimidation that exists in this country and the level at which people are afraid to lose their jobs, to be physically harmed, to have social pressure brought to them. It's incredible. The number of people, pastors, a woman who works at the VA in Oklahoma, I said, hey, would you mind, what you just told me, would you mind talking to this reporter we have here? Because she goes, oh, I can't say that out loud. I work for the VA, and if the VA finds out that I'm here, then I could lose my job.
I mean, that's really that's scary stuff there.
That is. Now, I mean, the cynical mind that I am, I'm like, you're not going to lose your job. The fact that she is not told regularly, you are free to express your political opinions and you're not going to lose your job.
Yeah, yeah.
That's a real problem. That the federal, state, local, but all the way through, everybody's got a reason why you can't say anything about it. I don't know about politics. I'm not sure where I stand. Those are good ones. I guess
to hear about that is so weird because in my work environment, it is the most politically agnostic, neutral place ever. Like, you just don't go there. You don't joke about it. It's not like we've got work to do. We're doing work here. Yeah. We've got to get along, and not that it's like forbidden. It's just, you just don't.
Can you talk about sports?
I guess.
Is it just you only talk about work when you're at work kind of place?
Well, I work around IT people, so sports is not really on the top of their list. I'm kidding. I mean, one of them guy's a peewee football coach. So
okay, so you talk about your kids' sports.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things I learned that's worth this conversation is one of the reasons we're bad at talking about politics in this country is because we don't talk about politics in this country. You can't talk about it at work. You don't talk about it at school. If you go to a school, you don't talk about it with your family over holidays. You don't talk about it at religious environments. You don't talk about it in the public sphere. You don't talk about it anywhere. So people are bad at it. It's like this weird no-talk rule in a bad family system.
It's been a polarizing thing for over 200 years.
I get it. And what if you went to a family therapist and said, in my family, there's this polarizing issue, so we don't talk about it, and it creates all this animus in our family, what the therapist would say is, why don't you get your family together, and we'll come up with a way where you all can talk about this so that it builds a sense of togetherness rather than to remove a sense of togetherness.
It's a strange thing that's similar to religion in that when you have differing opinions politically, one's opinion always seeks to take something away from the other person.
Yeah.
And so you view each other like, if I like what you're promoting right now, that is going to take something away from me.
Yeah.
And my ideas take something away from you. Right. So no one wants to experience that loss.
Yeah. And we can continue to tell ourselves or act as if or believe that's how it's going to go, rather than learning a practice, which people would if they practiced having civil dialogue about the civic life, that's not what actually happens. So I've realized, okay, one of the things that I want to do is to encourage and inflame the places where there's the possibility for civic dialogue. And in my religious community, come to find out, they're the worst. These people don't want to talk about it at all. It's just all this like, I can't because I'm a pastor. I can't because I run a nonprofit. It's just like, could you stop hiding behind... Okay, so there's a thing pastors say, where they'll say, because we're a church, we operate under the 501c3 status, boring already, right? Which means we operate as a nonprofit.
Mm-hmm.
So we're forbidden from talking about politics. We can talk about morals and policies, but we can't talk about who you elect.
But that's not true.
Which is not true, first of all. Secondly, and to me more importantly, because I'm a purist, if it was true, and you're standing in front of your congregation and saying, I believe something deeply, I think my faith that I hold as your pastor drives me to these beliefs, I think we should communicate those beliefs to the world on behalf and benefit of the world. But do you know why we're not? Because we get a tax break. If you're not saying the thing you believe as a church and a pastor because you're preserving your tax break,
well,
you don't get to take the moral position that other people are doing nothing but preserving their tax break. Like, it's just so incredible.
Well, it's I mean, people get a tax break too. Here's the double-edged sword,
All
Doug.
right. Yeah, well, tell
because
me.
there's thousands and thousands of conservative churches out there who are going to do exactly what you're saying to do.
Yeah, they do it anyway, but that's fine. Yeah. So what? This is the problem, is the idea that, like, let's shut down as many people as we can so that less people talk is the solution to what we do with ideas we don't want to exist. First of all, it's not very American, and it's not a smart strategy. Mm-hmm. Like, the one thing you don't want to do is say, in the world we live in, let's have less people talking about it and try to create rules by which less people talk about it. Not happening.
This atheist moment is brought to you by Nespresso. Doug, let's get to the core issue here.
Yes.
Is that these groups of people are truly not followers of some sort of religious book. They just want things to be done the way that they want them. They say it's based upon the book, but they're not living this book out in any other form
anywhere in their life.
Anywhere else in their life.
Yes.
I mean, they say they are.
Yeah.
But come on.
Yeah. Not hardly an argument to be made. Because there's almost no compulsion from their faith for them to do something they wouldn't otherwise already do. So people will be like, hey, you're being too hard on religion, right? They'll tell me this, and I'm sure they tell you this too. Because they'll say, there's people that churches do good things, and they do.
Absolutely.
But they're doing those good things because they want to often, not because they feel that their faith calls them to it. Because as soon as their faith calls them to something they wouldn't otherwise naturally do by their cultural pressure, they don't do it. Right? So they'll say, like, oh, we're going to welcome, I want to do work in Honduras and Guatemala and El Salvador. We're going to go on mission. That's good work. But as soon as your faith calls you to love the stranger and even your enemy as yourself, and then to advocate on behalf of your country and your money going to support them, then all bets are off. Yes. Well, we don't want them in our country. I want to help them in their country. Well, that's not what your faith calls you to do. That might be what, like, nationalistic separatist charity does, but you shouldn't say the reason then that I'm working in these other places is because my faith compels me to care for the stranger and care for the least of these as if they were my own. That's what your faith calls you to if you're Christian. So when they say, well, we're doing good work there, but that's not as a result of your faith because you prove it. I mean, this is what they've been arguing about, in Bible books from the very beginning. You can't say to someone, remember the book of James, that the one you used to read?
Mm-hmm.
You can't say to someone that when someone hungry or whatever comes to your door, you can't say to them, stay warm and be well fed and go about your business.
Right.
If you do that, this is 2,000-year-old advice. If you do that, you're mocking the very faith you say you hold.
Absolutely.
So this has been a rooted problem. It's not just an American problem. It's not a Christianity's development after the time of Constantine problem. This is the deep human reflex. And, okay, one more piece of this sermon on a Saturday. I'm going to pretend I'm Seventh-day Adventist and we're having church on Saturday. Except the caffeine that I had and the alcohol I'm going to have later. But anyway, just for this purpose. No.
And I'm going to watch an R-rated movie.
Now I've forgotten my point. There was one more point in there.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's all right. It was a great. It was worth the joke. Yeah. Hey. Speaking of this,
Oh, wait a minute. You're going to launch into something else.
I am. I'm going to talk to you about her.
All right. Yeah, I can't. How was it being on a bus with strangers for 5 weeks, man?
It was.
Did they come and go, or was it the same core people the whole time?
It was both. We had a core group. I don't know. There were maybe 9 of us that were sort of full time or mostly at all of the events for 5 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
It was a bus and an RV and a truck pulling a stage.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a caravan.
Yeah.
I mean, I know caravans are in the news now, but there were hordes of us in the caravan, and sleeping in the bus was fantastic.
Really?
I slept great. I didn't. I was so exhausted. Still, am exhausted from the overall experience.
Yeah.
But the sleeping experience, 3 bunks high, and 4 pods of 3 bunks high. So 12 bunks in the bus. Like you walk down the aisle. Yeah. And on the right, there were 3 bunks. On the left, 3 bunks, and you move forward a little bit, and on the right, 3 bunks, and then left. So you're stacked up. You're like in a submarine, kind of.
Yeah.
But boy, you get in that little thing, and the mattress was really great, and you've got the cover over. You have your own little power inside your little cube or inside your little,
Yeah.
I don't know, coffin.
Would you sleep as you normally would sleep, Doug?
I did. Yeah.
Like
Lay on my side, pulling my right knee up to my chest, and drooling on my pillow. Exactly how I slept.
buck naked with just a wife beater on?
No, I don't sleep like that. I always have a sleeved T-shirt.
Oh, it's a sleeve T-shirt.
Yeah, sleeve
okay.
T-shirt. Yeah,
Right.
yeah, and socks.
All right.
And socks.
Oh my God.
Well, if a guy's got to get to sleep, a guy's got to get to sleep. That's
Whatever
all
you
I'm
got to
saying.
do, man. I mean, come on.
But I'll tell you, the travel hack, pro tip.
Mm-hmm.
If you're ever traveling,
Yeah.
well, and maybe just at home, they make a sleep sack, which I know you're going to turn into a sexual joke, but they make a sleep sack, which is kind of like a liner that would go inside of a sleeping bag.
Mm-hmm.
So your legs would go like sort of from your chest down. It's sewn together, and then it's like kind of like a sleeping bag,
Okay.
like a mummy bag,
Mm-hmm.
but it's made out of silk, so it's just real thin.
Mhm.
Well, silk, I'll tell you. I mean, these things are like $40 on Amazon. They're incredible. They keep you cool when it's warm, and they keep you warm when it's cool.
Really?
Yeah. In the Morning with Doug and John, brought to you by the Silk Sleep Sack.
You're not like sliding around in that.
Well, you do get a little slippery. So that's the real trick. Boy, once you're in that thing, delicious. So I slept great.
Because there's nothing worse than a dry sleep sack.
But see, there you go. But having to live on the road, the physical strain it makes on your body, all the sitting, and then the getting up and running around and doing, and then coming back and sitting and trying to stay. Otherwise, for me, trying to stay stretched and healthy and active.
Yeah.
it was brutal. My body. I have run 100 miles
Mm-hmm.
in a day.
Mm-hmm.
My body hurts so much more after 5 weeks on a bus
Yeah.
and living
Yeah.
this life. It is. I can barely walk. It's
Was there any
unbelievable?
Was there any conflicts in the bus? Like any personality clashes? Or
No, there was a
like,
little-
hey, you said this about me in a blog like 4 years ago, and I never forgotten about it.
No, not a
Marco
single,
Stryker.
Not a single relational struggle.
Really?
Not one. Not a moment of drama. Incredible. I mean, more than 30 people in and out, staying multiple days, high pressure, doing events every day, people having to speak, people having to sing.
And handshake and mix it in the crowd.
Mixing and coming into a bus and living in a small, tiny space. Not a single I mean, this group of people that pulled this thing off, and from around the country, people who didn't know each other,
Yeah.
people of varying opinions about this, traveling with non-voting people, with Republicans, with leftists,
Men and women.
men and women, people from different racial backgrounds. Incredible.
Did you guys hit a hotel like every 3 days or something like that? Or
No, some of us didn't. I mean, I think I stayed in a hotel maybe 2 nights. We had some bus problems, so sometimes we had to get out of the bus and stay in a hotel. But there was, other than getting a shower, because there's no shower in the bus, so we're always hunting for showers. Other than the shower issue, there's nothing better about a hotel than sleeping in the bus. Insane. All your stuff is in the bus. You feel at home. We were going to be out of the bus for a couple of days and travel in the RV and stay in guest homes. And then once the bus was back, everybody said, hey, does anybody want to stay at a home, a guest home, where someone would put us up? Nope, back in the bus. It was like Shawshank Redemption.
So was that all the bus was just bunks in that thing?
No, work area in the front.
Okay.
Work area in the back. 12 bunks in the middle.
And it's different from the RV in what way?
The RV, I mean, in a lot of ways. So the RV has one bed in the back, and it's sort of a big living area with a bathroom and a shower that we never use. So the layout is different. The RV.
Okay.
Imagine just a coach bus that's been redesigned on the inside, so it's like that width.
Okay.
But it's big and heavy, so it doesn't bounce around as much as the RV. It doesn't have as much shake. It's just a serious tank of a vehicle. Yeah. I kind of miss it already, shockingly. Like you would think, if I could just say goodbye to that bus, I'm glad to be off the bus.
Like every time I get on that bus, I'd look that driver straight in the face. Dude,
bring us home.
You got it. You got it together.
One
nod, man. You got to pull this thing over. I can't deal with that.
Yeah. Well, we never drove overnight.
Okay,
so that was good. Which is the thing we didn't experience, which a lot of rock and rollers experience, which is you do a concert, you get in the bus driver drives overnight, and the bus driver goes and sleeps in a hotel while you set up and do your concert, and you're traveling overnight. We never traveled overnight. When we slept in the bus, it was stationary.
Okay.
It was parked. So there was none of that. Like, what was that? Are we crashing? Are we
right.
nervous?
Oh, yeah.
So that, I think that anxiety could have gotten to us. But,
sure.
But we didn't have any of that. So anyway, and then flipped Congress, at least for our purposes, and now
whatever.
And now the job is
thanks.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't want to like shit on what you guys just did. Well, thank you very much, but it was a lot of work for very little effort.
It's going to pay off, my friend. I promise you, it's going to pay.
So
off.
Whatever hell comes our way, we deserve it.
Yeah, well,
we couldn't move the needle that much.
Yeah, well, this is Oh, you mean because the win was so minuscule?
Yes,
it's going to get up to the mid-30s of Democratic control, which I think is going to be helpful. But this thing we did was, I think vote common good is super important, and it needs to continue on, and it's going to have a life well beyond this. But this origin story of why this had to start to stop this presidency and do everything we can, and to have religious people not have their only public option to be participating in the complicity of this.
Yeah.
I mean, the Trump administration is so dangerously out of control, in my view. And the level to which even the Congress people we talk to were saying, like, well, I kind of want to talk about health care, and I want to talk about insurance premiums, and I want to talk about the price of... I'm like, what? Yeah, for sure. There's a lot of things you should do as a congressperson.
Yeah.
The number one thing is to restrain this presidency because he's a hazard to the well-being of people in this country, the planet, and those around the world. Do not lose sight of what's happening. Like, the country is in a slow motion slide into something really dangerous.
Yeah.
Please don't tell me that the reason you're running for Congress is limited to people getting a better deal on their health insurance. Yeah. Now, I want people to have a better deal on their health insurance, but you should be compelled by a higher calling. Or if not, I don't know, go work for a lobbyist group that works on health insurance issues, or go work for Health and Human Services. Try to, your job in 1/3 of the federal system of the presidency, the judiciary, and Congress is to be an equal branch of government and to keep the other branches of government from not destroying us. Like, the promise you're going to make when you put your hand on that book of choice and raise your hand in the air is not, I vow with all of my ability to knock down your health insurance premiums. It is to defend the United States of America and its Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. I mean, there were days I just wanted to scream. So we did through our event that, like, the president of the United States does not have the well-being of the people in this country in mind and is behaving in ways that are damaging.
It's hard to lobby for good policies when the president does not behave with any kind of logical means and can direct things to unfairly shut them off or defund them at any moment. So all that work that you're doing to do something that might be fair and acceptable by a majority of people could be just somehow illogically shut down because of the whim of this guy or whoever who's whispering into his ear at the moment.
Yeah. So, I've referred to the Trump presidency in the metaphor of a natural disaster. So it lasts for a long time. The impacts of it and the reason for it are not simply in that storm itself. And we should have dealt with things a long time ago so that the infrastructure for earthquakes, tornadoes, wildfires, floods aren't as intense as they are. I think it's a working metaphor for all this. But hearing some of these people running for Congress, do you know what they sound like to me? You're in the middle. The devastation has happened. Your house has been destroyed. The insurance agent comes to your house. And rather than saying, what we're going to do is to protect your family, we're going to make sure that you're safe, we're going to take care of your needs, because that's why you have insurance. The insurance person says, could we talk about maybe expanding your coverage? Because I can get you a much better deal. Like, hey, can we talk about that in 9 months after my house gets rebuilt? Because right now,
I don't know where I'm going to sleep tonight.
we're living in a crisis. I'm not saying that having better insurance and getting a better deal is not important. Of course it is. But right now, can we not do that? Can we not talk about my rates? This idea that Congress people are just going to go along and say, well, I think our primary issue should be infrastructure reform. Yeah, after you stop the president from the United States who just fired the attorney general and put in a lackey, sent troops down to the border to use them as a stunt to scare people, is violating the Emoluments Act, is pulling us out of international agreements that go back to denuclearization with Russia. Like, it is so far out of control. And that his own background leaves him open to prosecution for money laundering, and you haven't even asked for his taxes yet. Like, it is so insane to me that I just think we really need to talk about our agenda. Like, it's 2004 all over again.
What's gonna?
I just feel like I'm insane because these people.
So if this whole thing doesn't, if Mueller doesn't pan out and the president goes on 2 more years, if he chooses not to run again, what's going to happen is the Republicans are going to act towards Trump like they did towards Bush too.
Yeah.
Like, they didn't even mention him. He's never mentioned,
that's right.
during the election afterwards. And they're just hoping that not too much damage is done and enough Republican benefits with lower, taxes and I don't know how poor Republicans think that's a good thing. But anyway, then they're just going to, come back and go, hey, we got all these good things because I'm such a great senator or whatever.
Yeah.
And just not even
talk about it.
Yeah. And just move on. Like, hey, I got these, positive things for us. That's why you should reelect me. And just because there's no morality into it.
They're just stuck in the terms of, remember when you used to counsel people in grief, and there are these stages of grief, anger, denial, bereavement. Like, certain ones of us are stuck at certain places.
Yeah.
Right? I'm still in the, there's a crisis happening. This thing isn't over yet. The Republicans are just in full-on denial. Let's just get through this. It'll be fine. We'll never speak of it again, and everything's gonna work out, which it probably will. It probably will. I was reminded on this tour, talking to people who are a bit younger, that when I was a child, 6, 7, 8 years old, when we were, the President of the United States, Richard Nixon, resigned the presidency in shame before he was arrested and impeached. 1973. 7 years later, they elect Ronald Reagan, who goes on an 8-year run as a Republican. I never thought about Richard Nixon for a moment when I hit my voting years as a teenager. Just 7 years later, gone from the imagination. Right? Did you ever, when we were teenagers or even young adulthood, did anybody say, you can't vote for Republicans? Richard Nixon was a Republican.
No.
Nope.
No, Nixon was like a shame to his own self.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's it. Oh, well, you can't. That's what it's going to be with Trump, to your point. It's just going to be.
Mm-hmm.
But in the meantime, Richard Nixon didn't come anywhere close to the damage that this president is doing, not by his behavior alone, personal behavior, but by the policies he's invoking. That a guy named Stephen Miller is talking to him about how to run domestic immigration policy, and it's unbelievably un-American, dangerous, and bad for people. I just think we are in the most full meltdown, having nothing to do with what Robert Mueller is investigating. That's a separate.
Yeah.
It's like when somebody has 4 different medical conditions, and you're dealing with one of those at a time, right? I get it that they're it's all complicated, but what Robert Mueller is talking about is Russian collusion, participation of the Trump administration, and obstruction of justice. Hugely important.
Mm-hmm.
In addition to that are all these other things that Congress alone should be investigating.
What do you got in front of you there?
I don't know what I got in front of me. Hey, do you know this woman running for Senate in Arizona? Sinema?
Mm-mm.
Not Cinnabon. Sinema.
Okay.
Kirsten Sinema. We talked about her a while back on the In the Morning with Doug and John.
What's her deal?
She's gay, atheist.
Oh yeah,
Congresswoman. Remember this?
Yeah.
Way back.
Mm-hmm.
She ran for Senate.
They're
in a recount.
Oh,
she's got a great chance to win. She's pulled ahead just recently. Right up your alley.
Excellent.
She's the future of the non-religious senator that will come out just full on and be like, oh no, I'm not hiding any. I'm not pandering. I'm not pandering for a minute. And supported by a great number of straight white males who are religious.
How did she do that? Just being a hot blonde?
I don't know. I think there's some of that for some people. They look at attractiveness when it comes to a candidate. But the other candidate, I think, is equally. She's an attractive woman.
Oh.
She's running against another white woman.
Oh,
who's
okay.
equally, I think. But
I'm sorry, people. I said it because it's absurd.
Yeah, it's absurd, but it's true too. There's an electability thing that candidates deal with.
I'm just trying to think what would be the thing that a white male Republican.
Oh,
because she
don't
might
think that
look like
was
a Fox newscaster.
You don't think that was Sarah Palin's primary attraction to a lot of voters?
She's still smoking hot.
Is that they found her to be attractive? For sure. That's human beings are still human beings, right? Like so there. So I think she's an attractive person. She communicates well, but I think the thing that got her to a wider constituency is she's open about it and authentic. Mm-hmm. She respects religious people, which is a thing that Democrats don't often know how to do. Without being one.
Well, most atheists don't either, so
yeah, well, that's
so
true.
good on her. Hey,
that's
Doug,
true.
I'm going to show you what I got in the mail today.
What'd you get?
Oh, not in the mail today, but I've been actually holding on to this for a little while.
What you got?
So I have insurance and stuff through my work, right?
Yes.
And I'm a man of a certain age, and so that qualifies me for certain things. You see what this is, Doug?
Is it a vial?
Yeah, it's a vial. Let me hide my address, you stalker freaks. You know what goes in that vial, Doug? My poop.
No, it's Cologuard?
It's a colon
a Cologuard
screening thing.
Screening?
Yes. Could you ever imagine you'd be of the age where you'd have to do this? Well, I really feel sorry for Robin. This is going to be difficult for her to obtain the sample from me.
How are you going to do this?
Well, God, I hope there's a swab or something.
What do you swab?
Your bung.
Are there instructions?
Well,
I think you need to live stream this when you do it. Oh, yeah, there's instructions.
Well, there's got to be a swab. I'm certainly not going to aim for that little vial.
I was going to say, it's awfully small.
I don't think they need much, Doug. Yeah.
Oh.
Maybe
you do your toilet paper. That's how I would do it. I'm problem solving right now. I would wipe.
That's a good idea,
And I would
Doug.
use the toilet paper sample.
Sorry, folks. I brought this Saturday morning.
Oh, everybody poops. Everybody poops.
I did twice this morning.
And you didn't? Oh, because you were saving it for the bit.
I should have hey, Doug, you know what's in
You
there?
know what's in there? Well, does that make you at all nervous? Like, oh, I wonder if this is a sign. Like, what if? Like, if I got that, I would think, wow, what would be the chances?
No, actually, aside from the, I don't want to imagine myself as now in a category that has to do this. But I think it's like, this is actually fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, as shitty as insurance business is, the medical part of it realizes that they can save money if they screen people for this issue, at a certain point that they might start to, where statistically
cut you from their insurance rolls. That's the fear everybody has.
No, it's so you can get treatment so that you don't get colon cancer years down the road and then end up costing, millions and millions of dollars.
I promise you there's people who've already listened to this and they're saying to themselves, don't do it, John, because what you're doing is participating in a system where they're starting the pre-screening, because as soon as Obamacare loses the preconditions qualification or support, which is where I do think Congress people need to be working on preserving that.
You already shot all that down, Doug.
It doesn't have to be the sole reason for your current running in the middle of a disaster. That's the worry. I've been shocked. Like all those DNA tests and all this, the people who say to me, like, you don't participate in that. They're building a database so that later they will know you and your children, and you are all going to be cut from insurance coverage.
You mean to tell me that out of my fecal smear, they're going to harvest my DNA for some robot lizard?
Yes.
Well, what about my bung, Doug? What if I need help?
I don't know. This is the thing about digital records. That whole push when Obama. Remember back in 2008 when the president was saying we need to digitize the records. There was pushback to not do that because they said we don't know what database they're going to be on, and people are going to the resistance to Obamacare was not just.
Right.
We don't want to pay for wrong people's health insurance. It was this whole thing about we don't
this
want
intermingling of government and personal health information and all that. Okay.
Well, you're right on the front edge of that right now with your poop sample.
Yeah.
Hey, speaking of poop samples, here's a headline that I'd already pulled up. In China, I can see you right now. Your response is currency manipulators. In China, Bill Gates encourages the world to build a better toilet.
Well, amen to that. Wow, amen to that.
Okay.
Would
you? Yeah.
So I had to change the guts of the toilet tank recently in our house. It was leaking, okay? So I got the full kit repair, which includes the little flusher thing and the flapper. It's two separate devices. I don't know if you know that, okay? So I was able to install the flusher thing, but I could not get the flapper tube to it would fall right through. Yeah. And so I'm trying, I'm multiple trips to Home Depot. I'm trying different rubber grommets. I got this Frankenstein monster of rubber tubing, and then I flush the toilet and it just goes all over the floor. Yeah. Apparently there are two different sizes of openings in the tank there.
Yeah, I mean, how's that a thing?
2-inch and 3-inch.
Right.
So I was trying to fit a 2-inch into a...
You did it to yourself there.
So, So I eventually got a bigger one, and it fit just right.
Fit just right, and then everybody was happy.
And so then I'm looking at this like molded porcelain thing with its elegant curves at the bottom, and I'm like, we've got a tank of water that's all you're doing. You're just pouring a bucket.
Right. It's like a guy just waiting there with a bucket of water to push your poop down the hole. Well, here's what Bill Gates wants to do.
And not only that, they're often very intricate in there, difficult to clean.
Yeah, really. I mean, separately from like the water-based.
God help you if you got boys.
water-based flush your fecal matter and urine down the toilet into the septic system that's going to ultimately run into the ocean question, which does need some updating because, I mean, you look at those things and you're like, that looks just like the first toilet they ever made, right? What Bill Gates is into, and part of my attention was on this because I wrote about this in my forthcoming book. In the Morning with Doug and John, brought to you by Outdoing Jesus. I changed the name of my book from Greater Than to Outdoing Jesus. But anyway, I wrote about this because I wrote this whole section.
You never finished the Greater Than book? I'm sorry. I thought you had finished it and had already did tours on it and everything.
No.
That still is not. All right.
It's still coming. It's still coming.
All right.
It's still coming. Summer of 2019, but it's going to be called Outdoing Jesus. But anyway,
just for a moment, the weight of that deadline hit you. Then you're like, "I got this. I can overcome it.
I can overcome it. I can do it." I make this argument that the miracles of Jesus are being outdone by people now, and that's the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
So Jesus heals a little boy, and I have this great line in the book where I say, I think it's a great line. It's much more impressive to save 1 million children through proper hygiene than it is to save one child 2,000 years ago and brag about it. Right? So the people who are creating hygiene are saving people by the millions, especially in fecal matter usage. So I write about the fact, this was 5 years ago when I started writing this book, the big
like you're pre-Gates, man.
I quote Bill Gates in this, but now it's in the New York Times because he's in China this week doing it. What they want to do is turn fecal matter into fertilizer and extract the water, take the fecal matter, and turn it into fertilizer. So that's the toilets that they're working on in China.
Just like little factories
for developing parts of the world. Not even for big urban places, but where you wouldn't use water to flush it away. You would actually extract the water, and it becomes purified to the level of being able to use in kidney dialysis. It can be that pure. The water you extract from fecal matter, the rest of the fecal matter becomes dried and becomes useful for fertilizer.
It's interesting. I'm reading the book Dune.
Yes.
You remember,
from the movie?
Well, from the 1968 novel. That's like this thick.
Yes.
You didn't have any stoner friends who were all into Dune with these giant paperback books?
No, I was
talking
about
the thing is like that thing.
Yeah.
Anyway,
and you're reading that big tome?
Well, I'm listening to it. So,
okay.
But anyway, it takes place on a desert planet, and you go out in the desert. You have to wear these still suits that have these features to where it extracts your water and your feces, and it extracts the water from that. Then you can drink it out of a tube. There's so little water on the planet. Anyway,
yes.
Blah, blah, blah. Good on the
well, yeah.
Right.
That's what they're doing. That's in the good news territory.
Why isn't that happening here? No, we can't make a buck off of that in the States?
That's a really interesting question. I didn't read as to why they're doing it in China and not here.
Well, maybe
on Tuesday in Beijing, Mr. Gates held a reinvented toilet expo. A chance for companies to showcase their take on the simple bathroom fixture. Companies showed toilets that would separate urine from other waste for more efficient treatment, that recycled water for hand washing, and sported solar roofs.
Well, I guess
that's an upgrade on the porta potty right there.
They do some form of that in space already. There's a process. They've got to process that, and I don't know if they reclaim. I guess they do reclaim the urine because there was a problem in the space station where their urine reclamation unit was down.
Really?
And they had to wait for another launch to bring up so the clock was ticking between our water turns back into piss.
Man, the number of times I've wandered around, sort of fast walking until I could get to a toilet. Imagine if you're in space and you're waiting for Elon Musk to send you my legs are bouncing right now. Just
well, that's fantastic.
Hey, in slightly bad news, maybe good news, I'm not sure.
Mm-hmm.
In India,
bad news.
A man-eating tiger.
Oof. I'm liking it all much better now.
Was exterminated.
by
hunters from the government. There's a a lioness.
Oh,
Apparently,
well, no, that's
a tigress, not a lion. I digress. It's a tigress. Thank you very much.
because you speak to impress. So, I think it sounds bizarre
You're a poet.
to us, that a wild creature like that would need to be exterminated.
Yes.
But in certain parts of the country,
Yeah.
and historically, like there's been these animals that have wiped out villages.
Oh well, that's this
Yeah.
one has killed dozens. They think maybe even more, and they talk about how people that live in rural parts of India and also sub-Saharan Africa, their fear is not just of a person killing you; it is of a rhinoceros. Like rhinoceros kill more people than like
It's
some
actually
disease.
hippos.
Oh, it's hippos.
It's hippos,
not
aren't they?
rhinos.
Well, they're badass
Okay.
too, but hippos have a notoriously high.
Like they run through at night. They like run through a camp and just trample people.
Oh my God.
I mean, these are real fears that people and that the human race has overcome to develop. But apparently, it's very rare for a tigress just to get a little taste. And it's a long article about this
Because they do the hunting, I guess.
So the reason, and this is really conflicted because people are like, don't kill don't support the killing of these animals. Their point in India is every time that one of these tigers or tigresses start killing people and villagers, villagers feel like they have to fight back. So what the villagers do is they set out poison for all the tigers. So there's more tigers being killed by scared villagers who are putting out poison so what they're trying to do is create a safe environment where they can live together. So it's this weird thing where like a killer tigress has to be eliminated so that the people won't kill more. It's an act to not kill them. I mean, it gets that whole confused thing. And that makes me think about what we should do to people who big game hunt.
Well,
Why don't you let them eat little tigress here? Have a fair fight for a while.
yeah, anti-hunting too, Doug.
I'm so anti-hunting.
Oh my gosh, Doug! Come on.
I'm totally anti-hunting. I'm not anti-food production. I'm anti-sport.
Well,
hunting.
obviously, you just ate an egg this morning.
Well, an egg is an unfertilized egg, so I didn't kill a chicken. There were no chickens.
We got in the goddamn package somehow, Doug.
Chickens lay eggs every day, and then they take them away and put them in the package and send them to my house, and I eat them. A chicken egg is an unfertilized. There were no chickens. Those hens,
Listen here. Don't get all freaking smug because you spend $10 a dozen for your eggs.
Oh, you're saying that somehow the chickens are mistreated when they're laying the eggs.
No, I'm not saying that. All right, it was a bad example on my part. All right.
No, I do.
You just got off the road for 5
I do eat chickens.
weeks.
I do eat chickens.
How much processed food did you eat?
Oh, so much. And I eat animals. And I don't have a problem personally with. I mean, I think we should treat animals as humans should, and ethically and kindly.
I agree.
I'm comfortable eating animals. What I'm not comfortable with is someone killing an animal that I'm going to eat and hanging a picture of it on their wall before they do it and cheering with their buddies and drinking beers and being like, we kill the chicken, we kill the chicken. Like, if you've got to kill a chicken, feel free, but don't turn it into your sport.
To all of my conservative friends out there, to my Republican buddies, I get what you mean. I get this. I know. I totally understand how this drives you up the freaking wall. I get it.
Really? What could drive somebody up the wall about this?
That's all a cultural thing, Doug, because it's never your thing. You never grew up, hunting or something like that. It's quite an accomplishment to be able to shoot an animal like that.
No, it's not. It's not an accomplishment.
Well, then running 100 miles in 24 hours is an accomplishment.
If I ran over a little kid while I was doing it.
Look, I wouldn't mind, Doug, if you ate the kid. Okay.
Look, if you're a sport, if you're a sport shooter and you're like, hey, you know what we're going to do? We're going to go out and you're going to send up clay items, or you're going to shoot at a target.
Clay items. I get it. I get it.
Yeah, you see why. But the idea that the big accomplishment is that you hunted down an animal.
Yeah, that's an accomplishment.
Oh, jeez.
Doug, you can't just walk up to these animals and club them because they're hard to hunt. That's why you got to shoot them with a rifle from half a mile away.
Well, I mean, I guess if you were to get to one and you could club it, I would consider that to be something pretty impressive. But when somebody else manufactures your gun, makes your scope, makes your bullet, you just sit up in a tree and simply aim it at an animal. You could aim it at all kinds of things if you want to be a proficient shooter. If that's what the game is I want to be a proficient shooter, take the killing of animals out of it and stop cheering on the execution of animals.
Yeah, this is uncomfortable for me too.
No, it should be. It should be uncomfortable
because
you
whack job. You sit there with your fork in one hand and your knife in the other, and some food is brought to you completely unattached to any involvement of the apprehension of it. You just put your credit card down there, you eat your steak, while some cow that's in some goddamn pen for all of its life gets pumped full of whatever. You're okay with that? We can hang pictures of that up on our walls?
No, if you hang pictures of that up on your wall and act like it's some big accomplishment and you feel good about it. Look, the difference between what someone does and the reason they do it is pretty significant. Like, if someone hunts for animals as their food and they respect the animal as their food, all for it.
You know what, Doug? I don't
but
think
if someone's like,
I think you just don't like the people, Doug. And I will quote Ainsley from The West Wing. It's not that they're Democrats or not that they're Republicans. You hate the people.
Yeah. A lot of my good friends are hunters.
Yeah. Too many of them are gatherers, Doug, I think.
Yeah. The issue is not the killing of an animal. The issue is the attitude and rationale behind the killing of an animal. And when it's for sport, I think it's
been on many hunts. Have you, Doug?
No longer ethical.
Have you faced that? Have you looked through that scope and had that moral dilemma and chose not to do that? Have you ever experienced that? Put on the gear, go out there in the woods, be real quiet, be out there in nature, be alone with your thoughts, and blow the head off of some freaking animal? Huh?
No. I've done all the parts up until blowing a head off an animal. I was a kid once and shot up at a bird with my BB gun.
There you go.
And killed it, and I still feel bad about it.
Well, you have a history with birds anyway, Doug.
It's one thing for anything's life to be taken for a good cause. For your enjoyment in sport is not one of those.
Doug, look, there are many hunters for whom there is great respect in the taking of that life. That there is a religious experience of thanking that animal for giving of its life, and there's a conservation purpose behind hunting too. Most of the times,
I'm for that. If someone,
just as long as they don't enjoy it.
Yes. Look,
how Puritan of you.
Okay, yeah. Let me
reproduce all you want, but don't you be smiling when.
No, that's a good thing. You should enjoy. I'll step it up one more. I'm against capital punishment.
As am I. Before you were, but go ahead.
Okay.
I never got arrested or anything. Yeah. Never put my money where my mouth is.
I've been against it since 9th grade when I had to do the debate and I had to be on the other side of the issue.
What's happening?
I don't know. Don't worry about it. Nothing to worry about here. Let's say for a moment that the person who had to be part of the execution of a person by pushing one of the buttons for the poison, fire the guns, whatever means we're using in this country to kill someone.
Yes, the executioner.
Would it matter to you if the executioner's feeling about that? If the executioner was like,
Doug, this is such poor.
No, I'm just saying, look, because
these are not comparable things.
Well, I'm just saying the killing, someone could make an argument that there's a rationale for the killing of something that is solemn, is heartfelt, and is serious. And when it's not done in that way, it becomes something that we call murder at a whole different level. That's all I'm saying.
Hey, look, Doug, I've seen the Green Mile. I'm moved by that. I get it.
So the hunter who hunts out of respect for an animal, I get. the person who's you know why I hunt? Because I love the thrill. And I'll just tell you,
why would you group all hunters into the thrill killers?
No, I'm talking about those who hunt for sport out of the thrill of it and cheer it on and are like, that was so great when I killed that animal. There is a disrespect that happens. Now, I'm not saying this is every hunter, right? There are people who hunt for all kinds of reasons. Like I said, people that hunt for food, people that hunt to clear the herds, people that hunt for conservation purposes, the person that had to kill this tigress. That's one thing. Your average...
You don't think that guy was like, F&A, I just got him?
No, I'm quite... There was an interview with him. No, he's someone who's like, this is heart-wrenching that we would ever have to do this, but we do it in order to preserve the animal. So I think the intention behind
I'm in repose now, Doug.
You are. You've totally given up.
I'm not. I've not given up. It's just I've noticed I've resolved to the lack of fruit.
That's awesome. Hey, I pulled up. I pull up little helpful hints that I try to give to other people by giving.
Doug, my heart rate has gone from the low 40s to the mid 50s.
That tells you something.
You think you know a guy?
Yeah. I'm a no cheer you're hunting.
What about a bow hunter? Because that takes some real freaking skill to do that.
To me, there's a lot of skill. You can utilize all the skill of shooting, tracking, bow firing without having the purpose of that to be ending an animal's life. And if you end an animal's life for a reason that is something more than your enjoyment, I'm for it. But I'll tell you, an awful lot of the things that I see about from hunters is the enjoyment is...
Yeah, watch a lot of hunting shows, Doug.
Well, I don't believe those shows are an accurate portrayal of why most average jokers are
hunting propaganda. Fox News for hunting.
Fox News for... Okay, 15
Fox
things,
is an animal.
15 things. 15 things. Like even when having to exterminate a mouse or a rat. There's two different attitudes about that.
Okay, so I just want you to know
enjoyment side, and then there's the hey, I know we had to get rid of that animal. I wish there was another way than killing it. And then there's the I killed that mouse.
When you look back and you want to know why you lost the election, Doug, you could point to this podcast right here.
Well, if I'm not the president because I can't get the I like to kill animals crowd, totally good with that. Totally good with giving up that crowd.
I
just want to kill animals.
Oh, Doug, it's
what's funny. What's funny is hunting.
You can be so magnanimous, and other times you are just impossible.
Well, here's the thing. Like even the fact that we use language in really curious ways. We refer to chickens for that you eat as a protein source. Which is I think you shouldn't refer to them as a protein source. I think you should call them a chicken that you killed so you could eat it. And when you're talking about hunting and you call it people that kill animals for fun, people don't like that. They want it to have another name. Don't call it killing animals for fun.
Your point is so absurd and obtuse. I don't even.
Well, would you call hunting killing an animal for fun?
There's no bemoaning the
enjoyment,
the abhorrent factory farming culture coming from you. And so it's like you're picking on this very small percentage of people who, for those who are real hunters, they eat the food that they kill, Doug, and they work into conservation by helping to thin herds. Oftentimes, these things are highly regulated as far as how many animals and what kind that you can take.
Sure, that percentage of people who are doing that is a different class of people than are your average hunters.
Oh my God, he's just not. It's Veterans Day tomorrow, Doug.
Is it Veterinarians Day? Do we get to have one of those?
This is coming from a man who has not had a dog in 14 years, which I think is just weird.
Yeah. Well, here's the things you love are the things.
Big old backyard.
The things you love are the things you want to kill. Well, my point, the correlation between saying someone should not kill animals for their enjoyment and what do you think about the industrial food process? That's a disconnect that I think is unworthy of the conversation.
This argument has now become all about stamina.
Well, I think when you go back and listen,
you
to
know,
this,
I've got no long game.
I think
unless
when you
it
go
comes
back
to
and
sex
listen, you're going to
stuff,
say, I was not truly hearing his point. I think when you go back and re-listen, it's all about the human spirit that goes into enjoying it. Speaking of that, from Ladders, 15 things that are crushing your spirit, so watch out. 15 things. So I won't bore you with all 15. I'll just like you to pick a number, 2 numbers, and I'll tell you 2 of the things that these people say are breaking your spirit. You ready? You got a number in your mind?
Doug, I'm so vexed. 7.
I don't know why you want to kill. 7. Insecure collaborators are crushing your spirit. Their insecurity can easily become yours. Look at what's going on. You spend too much time with these insecure collaborators. Create a new plan to navigate it. That's a good one. You know what number 8 is? You couldn't possibly know. It's a random list. Of the 15 things that...
I never read any of that stuff, so I wouldn't.
15 things that are crushing your human spirit.
From
number 8.
From some clickbait.
Yeah. From Ladders in the category happiness. Number 8 of the 15 things that are crushing your spirit, fluorescent lights, which I actually think should be number 1. They're spirit suckers. Get outside, breathe in real fresh air, get the vitamin D that will surely be a happy shot to the bloodstream.
So early on in trying to pass through this church, after I met you, you infected me with the allergy to fluorescent lights.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
So everywhere we were like, no, we got to take these out. We in the office that had lamps, even though there's big fluorescent lights overhead. And
got to get them out of there.
There's something like
the
non-religious about them.
Well, and non-human. The light frequency of the gas that burns in the fluorescent lights is something that the human neuro pattern doesn't respond well to. We haven't evolved to the point that we can deal with this.
Yeah.
Hey, here's another one I thought was interesting. 7 ways that you're insulting your boss without knowing it.
Oh boy. Okay.
You know what number 1 is?
What?
You talk politics. Shut it down. Shut down. Kick in the no talk rules. Number 2, you correct them. Number 3, you're often late. Number 4, you interrupt them. Number 5, you throw meetings off track. Number 6, you make assumptions about their life. Did I miss one? 7 ways, and I swear I counted all of them.
I don't think you're really going to add anything
more.
Yeah. Going to be edified anymore by the missing point.
All right. Hey, 5 ways to tactfully turn down responsibilities without appearing lazy.
Okay.
I thought this one might be worthwhile.
My name on the byline there.
Number 1, be forthcoming about your workload. If you sincerely feel that your quality of work would suffer due to your current workload, share this gracefully. It's all I can do. It's all I can do. Set reasonable boundaries. See, these are not good. Talk it through and don't complain. Be prepared to, quote, show your workload and agree to take your part of the project. Those are terrible. That all of those, I would look at somebody and think, no, you're actually lazy.
Convince you at all.
No. If I was like having to give responsibilities out in some team and someone said, I need to tell you about my current workload. I need to set my reasonable boundaries. I want to talk this through with you. I'm going to show you all the work I'm currently doing, and I'll do a small part. I'd be like, I think you're lazy.
Yeah. It's how to be an underachiever.
Yeah. That's how to never get a promotion. You know what number 7 should be on the ways to insult your boss.
What?
Tell them about show them your workload.
Yeah, I hear that at work. Some people bemoaning certain things. They're kind of like, yeah, well, okay, but I've already got to... You just never say no.
Yep. Well, what else you got, my friend?
I don't have anything.
Nothing?
No.
No tips?
It's not been like an hour and 20 minutes already?
It's been an hour and 10 minutes.
Okay.
Is that enough?
I think so. Enough for me.
It's hardly morning anymore. I was a little surprised at your level
Of what?
support for the hunters.
It just
shocked me.
I just think.
Are you a hunter?
No. I've
Do you kill animals for fun? It's like those airplane scenes.
No.
Hey, Johnny, you ever spend time in a Turkish prison?
No, I just feel compelled to. That's
Hey,
all.
John,
It's
do
not
you
fun.
kill animals for
The
fun?
voice in my head tells me to do it. I don't know if it's fun or not. No, I don't think I've ever. I think I did shoot a squirrel once with a wrist rocket.
Oh, you hit a squirrel with a wrist rocket?
I did. As I was releasing the pig iron. Do you know what that is?
No.
Well, you work when you live in a steel town.
Oh.
They've got trains coming in and out of the steel town, and steel, when it's converted from ore, it is in little round balls. It's like little round. So there are these trains filled with these.
Wow.
It's called pig iron. I have no idea why, but anyway, it's great ammunition for a wrist rocket.
And that stuff was just around when you were a kid.
Well, so it would just, because it's their little marble of just steel, they would just fall out of these, in the little cracks of the train cars. So you'd always find pig iron up and down the train tracks all the time.
Awesome.
It's plentiful because it's what made the mills run. It was what they turned. They made that into car parts and shit.
Mm-hmm.
So so I was thinking, like, there's no way I'm going to hit this thing.
Yeah.
And I let go of it, and I watched the arc of the pig iron, blam! I mean, square smack that squirrel.
Wow.
Yeah, I was horrifying.
How old were you? Like 8?
Yeah, it
10,
might have
12?
been like 11, something like that. Yeah. So that's my only experience of willfully killing an animal.
I will say I willfully killed an animal. I was wrong about we had an infestation of rodents on our deck.
Yeah,
and we tried everything we could.
And what method
what
did
was
you
the
opt
what
for?
was the ultimate solution to
Yeah.
it? We got rid of the deck. Put in a patio.
It's the most pacifistic. Although removing
the conditions,
the shelter is a reasonable
reasonable approach.
I mean, poison would have been cheaper.
Yeah, there were so many of them. These red squirrels. I refer to them as rodents.
They were squirrels. You don't want to poison those. Oh yeah, and the red squirrels are different than the gray squirrels. I've seen them interact around here.
Yeah,
they're aggressive.
Yeah, I'm guessing they're both just plain old squirrels, but there's something different about those little ones with the red tint.
Maybe they just look more evil to you because they're red.
Do you think that's it? Yeah.
No, they're different.
They act.
They're definitely more shady than the average nut gathering squirrel.
Yeah, well, they're territorial, is what I've noticed.
And they'll chase away other squirrels. I mean, they're like, nah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then they cut our walnuts, our black walnuts in our yard. They break them open and get and then they leave the husk.
Yes.
That's sharp and pointy, and it pokes in my feet.
Yeah. They had a bumper crop of walnuts this year in our neighborhood.
Is that true? Is this I've heard that black walnut trees produce the fruit every other year.
Yeah, I think that maybe that's right because our squirrels are just fat as hell.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, they're like all sluggish and everything, and we had some pumpkins, and they got into the pumpkins in the front of the yard, and so we'll drive up, and the pumpkin's right there. There's a squirrel on top of it. One hand eating a chunk of pumpkin, the other hand giving us the finger.
Smoking a cigar at the same time.
Smoking a cigar. Go take a nap now.
But my friends in Australia say that because we all get so excited about kangaroos.
Yeah, right.
Because they have a pouch and they carry the little ones.
Yeah.
Or at least, I don't know, maybe just the females do. You don't know anything about kangaroos. But they say, because, Americans...
A marsupialist.
They get so excited about it when they see these. They say, to us, they're like your North American squirrel. Did you know that? That they think about at least people I know, the hunters, they think about these cute little, kangaroos with their boxing gloves on. They think about them like squirrels that are just an irritant. We see them all the time. We're running into them. They eat our gardens. Get them out of here.
It's an easy animal to anthropomorphize.
Yes.
So I think for us Americans, because there's none around here, we're like, wow, that's kind of a cool, interesting little thing.
Yeah, they care for things. And they
over
wear
there, they're
boxing
like,
gloves.
man, I just ran over a kangaroo on the way to work today. I'm going to get my headlight fixed.
Yeah. That's right. It's maybe the way we think about a deer. When you hit a deer, you ever hit a deer in your car?
No. I've heard some stories though.
Yeah, I've only hit one deer, and it wasn't catastrophic for either of us.
You both walked away.
Yeah, everybody walked away. Everybody was fine. Like, hey, sorry, man. Oh, I was on an airplane the other day coming back on Monday.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when the flight attendants get on and have to give you full instructions about how to use a seatbelt and how to maybe use an oxygen mask if it were to come down, and then they have to tell you about how to use a flotation device while you're flying over Kansas.
Yeah.
Outrageous. One of the things they'll often say as you're landing is, be careful, some of the items in the carriers ahead may have shifted during flight.
Right.
I'm in the middle seat. The person sitting next to me got up.
You're in the middle seat?
Yeah.
God damn.
I know, just that.
Okay. Go on.
I'm not sure I can now.
It's horrible.
It's horrible.
Who booked that flight, Carla?
No, I did.
Okay. Cheap, wasn't it?
Well, what happens is they have these rows that they call the comfort rows.
Yeah.
They have a little more leg room, and they give you extra snacks. So I get upgraded to those, and you take whatever they give you. So I was not in a middle row, but I was not in a Delta Comfort. Then when I got moved up by the automated system.
Was the trade-off worth it?
Yeah, sure.
You got probably a mean man spread, I guess.
I will tell you, when you're my size, I'm the one that they see as a problem for being in the middle seat.
Yes.
But the person sitting next to me, she got up and she opened the bin.
Yeah.
And
a bowling ball.
Her computer laptop slid out of her bag right when she opened it, came straight down and hit me in the genitals. Totally. I mean, just like, oh. And like that nauseated feeling that comes up, when you feel like you're going to vomit.
I'm sorry, I'm 12 years old.
And she's like, it was. She's like, I'm so sorry. Are you okay? And I'm like, yeah. Like unbelievable.
So if you were to craft a shape that you would least want to hit you in the junk, it would be the blade-like shape of a 5-pound laptop.
That came
slicing
from like 4 feet of air speed. Yeah. Oh, hit me right in the.
Oh my God!
I don't know how we got to that. Oh, I was thinking when I was on a flight. I saw this happen flying from
welcome to Minneapolis,
Sweden to Norway, and
you have had relations with your wife in 5 weeks.
I'm not in the mood.
I need some peas, frozen peas.
All right, I'm not even going to tell the rest of the story. We're going to leave it there. All right. In the morning with Doug.
All right, people. Until next time, whenever that will be.
Yeah, when is that going to be?
I don't know, Doug. With the next Saturday, what do you got going on? Where are you going off to this time?
Next Saturday, I'm going to be in Dallas, Texas.
Your alma mater? You ever get invited back there, Doug?
I did live there. It makes it my alma mater, my state alma mater. That's great. I did feel like I graduated when I moved away. Moved to Texas. Lived in Texas for 2 years. I'm going to be right near where we live too. So anyway, yeah, that's what I'm doing on Saturday. But maybe we can find another time for in the morning.
Okay.
If it doesn't interfere with your work life.
Well, no, my work life interferes with everything else.
Yeah, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's our going out music. Is that an alarm or your ringer?
No, that's Hey, Robin, you're on speaker and on the podcast.
Hi, Robin.
Hi.
Sounds great.
Yeah. Why don't you call me back when you're done, okay?
Okay, we'll
Okay,
do.
all both of us, or just John?
Just John.
Okay. Bye, Robin.
We're wrapping up. Bye.
Well, apparently she's not watching in the live stream.
No, that's shock.
But that's all right. Neither is anyone else. All
That's
right,
right.
we hit an hour 20.
Okay, that's
That's
good.
solid.
That's good. That's
Over and out.